Switching gears, let's go to the SEC, and this line has me all kinds of confused, guys. Number 15, Ole Miss on the road at number 13, Alabama. Not used to them being outside the top 10. Crimson Tide are a 7-point favorite. This is the 2:30 p.m. kick on CBS. Gentlemen, I tease this in the ledger. The numbers are screaming Ole Miss at me. They just are. I know that there are some injuries that Quinshon Judkins has not broken out yet this year. He's been battling some injury. Trey Harris may not play in this game. He's battling I think it's a leg injury that he suffered in the Tulane game. Did not play last week. And still, I look at what Jackson Dart, of all quarterbacks, has been doing this year. Ole Miss is averaging 349 yards through the air. Alabama's defense gave up 349 yards through the air in their loss to Texas. Those numbers scream to me that Ole Miss might have a chance to move the ball at will. A couple of other numbers for you. The Tide, they've given up 12 sacks through 3 weeks. That is 126th in the country. No quarterback has been safe back there. Ole Miss has 10 sacks. When you think about pass rush, you don't necessarily think about the Ole Miss Rebels, although maybe Sam Williams has a bone to pick with that from a couple of seasons ago. But they're not exactly pass rush you. I'm not saying they are this year, but that is a vulnerable Alabama offensive line, which surprises me because we were so sure coming into this year that Alabama would be able to rebuild in the trenches, and that's how they were going to run their offense this year, that they weren't going to go spread it out, try and throw the ball down the field, keep up with the Ole Misses through the air. We were so sure they were going to pound the ball on the ground and play bully ball. And they haven't been able to bully anybody. They couldn't do it against USF last week. When I look at this game, Garrett, I'm overwhelmed by the lack of standout playmakers that Alabama has going for them. And as much as it pains me to say, Ole Miss has an okay defense. I think their strength is both getting to the quarterback and in the secondary. And for me, that might be all you need to beat Alabama. I don't care if it's a road game. I think the Rebels have the leg up in this one. I've got to ride with the Lane Train +7. I'm going to take Ole Miss to win this game outright.
Yeah, I'm on the same team as that one. I'm Ole Miss outright on this one. Look, at the end of the day, and you can see it if you're watching it, my little tag, Bama is mid this year. I'm sorry. I'm going to go ahead and unveil my hot take for the year, but I think Bama's going to finish the year unranked. I don't think that they'll finish ranked this year. I think that they'll lose something like 4 or 5 games. And when you look across college football and you look at some of these really good teams and these really good conferences, I don't think that's going to be good enough to finish the year ranked. I don't care if it's Alabama. I think that they'll end up finishing outside that top 25. And in this particular game, I don't see how Ole Miss ends up losing this one outside of just a massive collapse, right? Let's look at it this way. Bama has gotten their tail whooped on the offensive line every game they've played so far. Even against Middle Tennessee, they didn't play great on the offensive line. They did some things to kind of move the pocket, and they were able to hit some deep shots and kind of do what they needed to do on the outside. But the offensive line for Alabama has not been impressive at all this year. And like you were saying, Mitch, Ole Miss has a little bit more of attack in that defense this year. They got a little bit of that, let's put some pressure on you, let's get after the quarterback. And when you get a guy like Jalen Milroe, who, I'm sorry, but you shattered his confidence last week benching him and then bringing him back. And I know that there were some reports that it was because he wasn't playing because he was suspended or something. I don't know any of that stuff. Regardless, he wasn't playing last week for some reason related to, the coaching staff losing some kind of belief or having to suspend him or something. That's going to shatter a guy's confidence going into your first game in conference. And, oh, by the way, it's Ole Miss, who's probably got the best offense, I would say, right now. If it's not them, it's LSU. Maybe it's A&M right now in the SEC. So they've got an elite offense. I think Quinshon Judkins is going to have to get going a little bit in this one to make it happen, but I think he will. I haven't seen anything from Alabama so far to suggest that they're going to be able to stop the run effectively. They've let up big rushing numbers so far. They've been, prone to giving up gashing runs, even to USF. So I'm not 100% in on anything that Bama's doing right now. Jalen Milroe right now is a running quarterback who can sometimes hit deep shots. So if I'm Ole Miss, I'm probably playing, cover 2, cover 3, man coverage and letting him try to beat me in the intermediate stuff. Just keep everything in front of me, because I don't think he'll be able to consistently move the ball if you make him hit the intermediate passes, especially if you're coming after him with the blitz, especially if you're spying him and not letting him get outside the pocket and burn you with his legs. I don't think Ole Miss is going to let any of that happen. I think Quinshon Judkins is going to get rolling. I think Jackson Dart's going to have a huge game. And yeah, I do think that Ole Miss wins this game outright and becomes, the second loss for Bama of their 4 or 5 this season.
Yeah, this is such a swing game for Alabama, because if they win this game, if they find a way to win this game when the whole world is picking against them, then you have to put them right back at the top of the SEC West pecking order, right? Like, you have to put them, I think that changes, it fixes a lot of things if they're able to win this game. Ole Miss has looked pretty much consistently, if not the best, maybe the second best team in the SEC West so far this year. And if Alabama's able to knock them off at home, then I think that fixes a lot of problems in the minds of a lot of people. But if they lose this game, then, guys, you might be looking at a 2022 Texas A&M-esque collapse. Like, I don't think that's out of the question. It could spiral extremely quickly, because that team that was on the field last week looked like they wanted to be anywhere but Tampa, Florida. They looked like they did not care about the outcome of that game. Their talent won it out at the end, and there were a couple individual guys that just kind of willed them to victory, but they were very close to losing to If South Florida was competent at all in anything, they were winning that game in Tampa last week. So this is just a very, very interesting matchup to me. I think Alabama has to know their best chance at winning this game is controlling the clock, controlling the ball, and keeping Ole Miss's offense off the field. I think that they're going to have a game plan to do that. I'm picking Ole Miss plus the 7, but I do think Alabama wins this game. I don't really have a good reason for you, other than I think that coaching-wise, at least from a head coaching position, maybe not the coordinators, but the head coaching position, Nick Saban is going to stand on a table and say, we are not going to let Ole Miss out time of possession us. We're going to keep their offense off the field, because that's their best chance of winning. They want a low-scoring bully ball type game, and maybe Nick Saban kind of uses this as a make-a-point game. If he can't get his players' attention, if he can't make this a statement game, then you have to ask questions about pretty much every other game on their schedule this year, because it doesn't get any easier from here on out. You still got LSU, you still got A&M, you still got the rest of the SEC West. There are very, very talented teams on Alabama's schedule, and it's not going to be easy for them from here on out. So I'm interested to see how they respond. I'm interested to see if Nick Saban still has it, if that team can still have its fire in the belly, because they're back against the wall. And for the first time in, most of our college football fandoms, maybe since 2007, Alabama looks weak. Alabama looks vulnerable. How are they going to respond? It's going to be fascinating to watch. And the chess match has been going on off the field, too. You guys have seen Lane Kiffin talking about who's calling defensive plays and maybe calling something out for Alabama. I don't know where you guys stand on that, but Lane's playing his mind games.
He is.
Lane's giving them all the bulletin board material that they want. How do they going to respond?
Trey, what I was about to say is I do think that the big X factor here in Ole Miss's favor is Lane Kiffin. I'm not a typical Lane Kiffin fan. I think he acts in very interesting ways, to say the least. But he's had to watch now. He watched Jimbo beat him. He watched Kirby beat him. He watched Sarkisian beat him. And now he wants his turn. He wants his turn to be the next guy in that tree to beat him and come
place,
back.
Which is where he's very comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. That's where it belongs. No, but he's going to want that. So if you don't think that he's not going to throw out every single wrinkle in his playbook to try to get Bama while they're down early in the season with the quarterback who's maybe still adjusting and still some turmoil. If you don't think he's throwing out trick play after trick play and throwing the clipboard and all that stuff like that, I think you got another thing coming. I think Lane Kiffin is hungry for this one. I think the Ole Miss Rebels will be hungry for this one as well. So, yeah, I don't think this one goes very well for Bama.
If Ole Miss wins this game, they're going to offer Lane Kiffin $12 million a year to be their head coach.
And they should.
They can't afford that. Ole Miss
they will do it.
Ole Miss is a
They'll
fake
just tear down one side of their stadium because it's already as bad as it is and just use that money to sell it.
They're gonna raise the tax to tailgate in the Grove. Listen, for me, this comes down to one simple formula. The recipe to beat Jalen Milroe and Alabama is on tape. The Texas Longhorns gave that to us, right?
Yeah.
The formula is bring pressure plus a quarterback spy plus man coverage, which I mentioned Ole Miss has a decent secondary. I love Deshaun Gaddy, who transferred over from North Texas, equals a lethargic Tommy Rees offense. Like, Trey, the one ray of hope that you have for Alabama winning this game isn't Alabama finding some sort of explosiveness on offense. It's using physicality. It's using time of possession. It's, maybe getting a takeaway or two and kind of grinding this game away. I don't trust Tommy Rees to do that at all. Jalen Milroe, listen, bless his heart. I think he is a tremendous athlete. I think he can be a good quarterback, but he's not a consistent quarterback. And his play caller, for sure, is not a consistent winner in that box, right? What is Tommy Rees given us to believe in him? It seems like the way that the quarterback room has been handled is Nick Saban saying, you can't find a way to win. Okay, I will, right? And whatever the truth is with why Jalen Milroe did not play last week, but he's starting this week, the dumpster fire that was Ty Simpson and Tyler Buckner and Tommy Rees trying to figure it out against one of the worst teams in the FBS, it just doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. And so even if Johnny Manziel was calling or was quarterbacking for Alabama, I'd still be going, that guy that's calling plays isn't very good. And at some point, you got to know that the X's and O's weigh in on this as well. I just feel like the play calling advantage, talent aside, the play calling advantage is on Ole Miss's side. And that's why I'm ultimately riding with the Rebs. Another statement game. If Ole Miss can win, I think they take the driver's seat in the SEC West. Now,
Absolutely.
LSU, their loss is obviously out of conference. They still have their destiny in front of them as well. But boy, it adds an extra ingredient to an SEC race that we haven't really considered since, I guess, midway through last year when Ole Miss started out so hot and then absolutely fell apart. Good news for Rebs fans, you're in the front half of the season. So the Lane formula is start hot and then maybe overcook it at the end. But I like the Rebs here, plus the 7. All of us are taking Ole Miss to cover.
Gracious, how about that?